Well, hello. This is a bit of a different video today. This is a video I have been working on for a very long time, and I am finally kinda putting it together. This is my first ever guide for anything, and I'm not sure I'm doing it right, but I hope at least some of it is properly done. So this guide is not a beginner's guide. I am not explaining information I consider to be basic in-game knowledge. This is just to save time for everybody. That being said, if you do need to know some basic information, such as status effects, I strongly recommend you go and watch Velachi's beginner's guide for the game. Velachi made an excellent guide, and I cannot recommend it enough.
Beginner's guide to get up to grips and up to speed with the basics of the game. You'll have so many stuff to do, and most of them at the moment are collection or delivery quests that cannot share a group. However,
This guide will work just fine after you've seen that one. I don't believe there's anything in this guide that is too advanced, but it definitely relies on you understanding basic in-game knowledge. If you disagree, have a point I forgot to mention, or just any feedback, leave it in the comments below. I'm here, I listen. In this video, I am bringing up 7 points, and these points are grouping safety, quest in etiquette, target species, map and hotspots, entering areas, noise, and combat. We're gonna go through each of these points, and I'm going to talk about each of them a little bit. We're not gonna talk about them too extensively, because I wouldn't have time for that in this video. Official servers to many seem like a hostile and unforgiving place, and that is absolutely what they are. However, with a bit of confidence, you can easily see the soft underbelly of official servers that most people completely ignore. The side that nobody mentions. Let me mention, just very quickly, that I recorded all this footage on official servers. And all of these players you're watching have no clue I am recording them. These are actual official players playing the game like they do. We all know that growth on officials takes persistence. It isn't easy for sure, but you do not have to do it alone. And you do not need to have friends either. I feel like this is one of the bigger bonuses of official servers. You see, community servers have communities. And as so, new players easily feel left out or lonely. And I know this because I was one of them. I was one of those little guys who nobody knew, who had no friends. I understand how lonely it can be, how you can feel so isolated from this larger community of people. So I know it's a thing. When nobody knows who you are, and when you do not have friends to get you around, it has been, to me at least, easier to consistently group with people on official servers. This leads us to our first point, safely grouping up with players on official servers. Vast majority of players on official servers do not treat the game as a deathmatch game. It is best to group with players when possible, even if you do not know them. You should never take any requests, be it waystone or group requests, from anyone you do not know or who isn't visibly right in front of you. The only players you should try to group with are those you can either kill or outrun. And you never just run to someone. It's best to do friendly calls and little crouchy dance from the distance before approaching. Surprising players on official servers is usually not a good idea. It is not a good idea on any server, but most definitely not on official servers. Once you have managed to create a group, you aren't actually safe. Do not let the player you do not know yet get too close. Be wary and aware of positioning. Nobody is ever to be trusted until proven trustworthy. Speaking to or understanding your group members isn't actually a requirement for grouping. I know this can come as a shock. Most people will absolutely not group with people they do not understand, but while one that speaks is a little easier to deal with and you can manage things easier. I personally have had plenty of interactions with players who say nothing in chat at all. You can still communicate with players you do not understand with the vocal wheel. Only thing you need to be careful of is the threaten calls. These are the calls that seem aggressive regardless of what they are put under. For example, Allosaurus's question mark call can be very threatening to some players, so do not necessarily use it that much, unless you are with another Allosaurus who can just easily check what emote you just used. Aggressive and questionably toned emotes are the only ones that do not translate easily to other players, and they might take it the wrong way. Love bites and love nips are only reserved to people you know and who are having fun with it. You should not do this to players who are not having fun with it. Question etiquette. This is an interesting one, cause everybody knows it's a thing, but nobody talks about it. Let me know if you actually knew about this. I believe you did. Question etiquette is actually a thing, and it is best to be respected. Question etiquette is pretty simple, really. You're not supposed to take more quest items that is your right to, and if you're collecting items, do not collect the items somebody else is collecting already. And if by accident you happen to take too much in one quest, you should leave more in the next one coming. Always seek to keep things balanced. Some people will kill you if you're taking too much quest items. Usually this will manifest itself in a way that might confuse people. So you have been chill with this one player, you have been questing, and you have been constantly taking excessive amount of quest items, right? Perhaps not leaving almost anything for your group member. At this point, if a player doesn't see any benefit for themselves, and they can tell that you are growing faster, they might kill you. They literally might just kill you. Some of them might actually just leave the group when you're about to finish a quest. So it gets a little bit annoying, but there is people who will kill you for this. So some species will encounter more difficulties while grouping up, or in the whole game in general, really. These are creatures that people will target regardless of size. These are the target species. The most likely creatures to get targeted are T-Rex, Eotriceratops, and Megalania. Grouping as these creatures is incredibly dangerous, and people might kill you even if they are the same species. You will have so much more struggle with these three than any other creature in-game. The secondary targets that still get targeted, but not as badly, are Spinosaurus, Sarcosuchus, Ducky, and Bars. You should know that because of how strong these things can be, a good number of people will kill you when given the chance. We don't have a third category, because I feel like that is unnecessary, but we do have honorable mentions. And the honorable mentions go to two characters, which are Anodontosaurus and Pachy. Anodontosaurus is self-explanatory, I don't believe I need to talk about that one, but Pachy is an interesting one. Pachy is only targeted because of poor in-game balancing, and if the developers of the game do not fix the massive issues with Pachy, people will definitely start to target him more, and it is understandable. So if it's not fixed, expect to have harder time growing a Pachy. So these were the species that will struggle a lot more than any other species in game. You will need to take caution and much less risks than with any other species. Grouped or not grouped, you need to know about the map. Knowing the map is somewhat important. Knowing food sources and planning ahead is demanded on official servers, because if you're actually hunting for food, you are taking a very unnecessary risk. You need to know how to approach new areas and where to go for questing, really. To know where to go for questing, you don't actually need to know the map in extreme detail. I know, what a shock. You want to stay out of hotspots, and to know if an area is a hotspot, take a look at your map and look at the positions of Home Cave and a Waystone. If they happen to be close together, and there is a clear, large source of water, it usually means it's a hotspot. The hotspot formation is largely the same on all servers. However, Great Plains tends to be much more popular on community servers. Great Plains is really the only hotspot that doesn't follow the rule of convenience. The only thing that reduces the likelihood of a hotspot forming is the terrain and water sources. For example, Young Grove isn't a common hotspot because the terrain is too complex and the water source is too limited. This will damage the ability for apex creatures to hang around on the area for extended periods of time. This is what they want to do. The population on official servers is always high, and players are spread across the map. If you are somewhere, you run a risk of seeing players there. That's just unquestionable. Rainbow Hills, Desolate Pass, Triad Falls, Dark Woods, and even Whistling Columns and Red Island all run the risk of having players in them. You are never completely safe and always run the risk of meeting people no matter where you are. This is why it is best to enter areas in a right manner. The person that arrives to an area last has the stronger position. This is because as long as you do everything right, you are going to spot signs of others before they spot signs of you. To spot other people, you should favor the edges of an area. You want to take your time to listen and look around before walking out on the open. Look for signs of activity such as missing quest items, missing food and water, or duck up burrows. If you spot water replenish quests or a red waystone, it is best to leave the area. These are signs of very high activity, and it is best not to take the risk. Turn around and leave, but do not run. This brings us to the point of noise. Now, if you are something light and fast, making noise isn't really something you need to worry about. But any sort of larger creature, so almost all of our target species, will make so much noise that running at all is highly likely to get you killed. People of this game are very noise reactive, and that's for a good reason. It is the main tool used to track things you do not see. The environment makes different sounds based on what you are stepping on, and some of these sounds are very easy to pinpoint. Footsteps made on water or gravel are very sharp and easy to spot. They're also extremely easy to recognize. These are the sounds you should key on when you are hunting something, and these are the sounds you should absolutely avoid making. Larger you are, the more noticeable even the smallest movement will be. You shift a little, you will make a noise. But what when you must fight? What am I supposed to do when I cannot hide, when I cannot run away? How am I to survive a fight on official servers? This brings us to combat, and this is our last actual point, and it is a large one. This is a topic we're gonna talk a bit more extensively on, but again, even though this is a more explained point, it is not fully discussed here yet. Fighting things is obviously going to make surviving a bit harder. Unfortunately though, you probably don't get much choice in the matter. On official servers, people do not act like they do on community servers. They just don't. These are players who are willingly growing for 8 hours or more to play on a server filled to the brim with KOSing and toxicity. People are ready to fight from the start, and they are not nearly as afraid to die as people on community servers tend to be. They play the game even while they are growing. I must point here that I have not seen nearly as many players on official servers just give up a fight. I have seen people yeet themselves off of cliffs, and I have seen them do all this other stupid shit, but it is much more common on community servers. I'm not sure why, because you would assume that low punishment for dying promotes people taking more risks, but I believe it actually just promotes them to give up. Combat will happen when you aren't ready, and you're just going to need to prepare for it. To survive combat, you need to be aware that the player you are fighting might have allies. It is also highly likely that your fight actually gets disturbed by an unrelated player. In a fight, you need to keep your stats up and you need to constantly watch for more people. If you have to use stamina, use it, but you should really conserve it as much as you can, just in case. This is also why head tanking is stupid. A lot of players are like, I have all these stats, I know what to do, I can just fucking go and head tank this thing. If you're solo on officials, no, you cannot. This is completely and only reserved to people who have other people to back their asses. You can usually tell if the third party player is an enemy based on how they act. You can see them usually do things that will tell you that this player is not to be trusted, and these type of things would be getting stamina. This would mean that they just ran to the scene with no stamina. If they were unrelated completely, they would not blow through their stamina. That's just not something they do. Or if they do this, they're kind of stupid. So, yeah, it happens. If the fight picks up immediately, or if the enemy moves closer to the person who just arrived to the scene, they are probably allies. To escape, your best chance is to run into a forest. When far enough, do a sharp turn and crouch. Do not move at all, no matter how close they get. Your best chance to live is to be absolutely silent, and a single step could be enough for them to key in on you. Unfortunately, you will encounter fights that are absolutely unwinnable. It is best to prepare for death in any combat situation. In the case you actually manage to kill something, hooray, absolutely hooray, good job. It is best to leave the area as soon as possible, because it is obvious that players will keep coming back. So once you have killed something, the fight isn't over. The person you just killed might have allies, or hell, the game might even spawn them right next to you. You do not want to be there for that. Go heal somewhere. If you have a trophy, heal with the trophy, and after you have gained your health back, go deliver it. So here we're gonna talk about mix packs a tiny bit. Mix packs and mega mix packs are pretty much the main thing official servers are known for, and yeah, they will come around. It's not very common for them to move, but they certainly do that sometimes. It is almost certainly unsurvivable if the people in it know what they're doing. You can't just eternally poke fun at the 6 players who are taking eons to kill your little rat. I know it's tempting, I know, but if you intend to survive, you shouldn't do this. But I mean, if you're having just fun and you wanna cause some agony, go do it. I do it all the time, you know? It might be fun. There are several types of mix packs, but we shall split them into 2 for now. For the purposes of this guide, there are intentional and situational mix packs. Now let's talk about specifically mega mix packs, because technically, as Truthy running with a Dynon is a mix pack, but because it is not actually damaging to anybody in the server really, I am not going to talk about them. So we are only talking about the problematic ones, which fall under mega mix packs, but because of reasons for simplicity, we're gonna name them all mix packs for now. Intentional mix pack is built usually by a group of friends. This is why the name of it is intentional mix pack, because it is intentionally made. In the worst case scenario, it usually has venom, bleed, speed, stamina, and damage. Approaching these types of packs can be extremely dangerous. However, there are times that they allow certain types of creatures in them. It really depends. It is very volatile. I would not suggest trying to make friends with them. It is literally like rolling a dice. So the second type mix pack I have named situational mix pack are born out of necessity. This is just randoms chilling with randoms. These are the kind of packs you might actually end up being in if you have no friends or anything, you know, you might end up being in these ones. The formation of a situational mix pack is definitely more likely when the server has other mix packs around. Approaching situational mix packs as a juvenile can be relatively safe. They rarely attack randoms. They are relatively dangerous to approach as an adult, but not necessarily for the reasons you would think. The presence of juveniles means that some of the juveniles might antagonize you for a trophy, and because nobody knows who is who, the whole thing will descend into chaos really quickly. But generally, situational mixed packs are really chill. They usually consist of couple apexes who really just don't want to fight each other. They're just kind of like chilling. It is not worth it to risk any interaction with these people, because mixed packs, they tend to switch characters a lot, and because of hotspots and how close the waystones are, they're just gonna waystone people back, so risking any interaction with them is really not worth it if you are actually trying to survive. If you're any of the target species, use extreme caution. You can usually lose mixed packs pretty easily, as long as they do not have a strong scout creature. If you are being scouted, get the scout as far as possible from the rest of the group and beat them up enough for them to back off. If you can kill the scout, do it, but your main focus should be in escaping it. This would bring us to the end of the video. I'm not sure if I got everything here that I wanted to talk about. And if you believe something should have been mentioned, let me know in the comments below. Let me also know if this was useful or colossal waste of time. I would really like to thank everybody who watched this video. I would like to thank everybody who has discussed any of these points with me before. I would absolutely love to thank my friends. You know, if you have talked to me about these points, I tend to talk a lot. Even if I disagree, or you find yourself disagreeing with one of my points, don't let it make you feel negatively about things. It is alright to disagree. Yeah, I gotta close this video off. I'm just rambling at this point. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you all. Good night.